Step 1, report a single situation or event, Fred, that occurred, an everyday event when you began to work yourself up. And focus on a brief description of what happened, Fred. Specifically, what triggered temper and symptoms?
All right, this occurred last night. I went down to the local McDonald's restaurant. I wanted to get a hamburger, and I was in line, and I thought I was the next person in line. I was about to place my order, but the lady at the counter looked right over my shoulder to the person behind me, took their order, and at that point, I began to work myself up.
Report the symptoms you experienced, both physical and mental. For instance, angry and fearful thoughts, confusion, palpitations maybe, disturbing impulses, tightness in your chest, lowered feelings, sweaty palms, and so on.
The only physical symptoms that I had were a tightness in my throat and chest, which is what I commonly get. I felt a state of confusion, wasn't sure why she hadn't asked me for my order, and this was replaced almost immediately by a sense of irritation and anger. Those were the basic symptoms.
And how about any thoughts that came to mind?
Some racing thoughts, what's the matter here? Doesn't she think I'm good enough to order a hamburger in the restaurant? What's the matter here?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, step 3. Report your spotting of fearful and or angry temper, the RI tools you use to help yourself, and your self-endorsement for your effort.
The first thing I spotted was that we are good observers but poor interpreters. I also spotted that to know is to know I don't know. I don't know what was going through the woman's mind, but I realized that I was making the assumption that I was next in line, and perhaps I wasn't for some reason. And at any rate, I spotted it was an everyday triviality. And when she got through taking the first order, then I smiled and with culture placed my order, and she immediately filled it without any sign of being upset. And I thanked her, and I took my hamburger outside and ate it and endorsed for the effort.
Good, okay. Could you read step 4, Joan?
Sure. Fred, begin with before I had my recovery training and describe the temperamental reaction and symptoms you would have experienced in former days. What would have happened then versus what happened now? And this will help you to note the progress you've made also.
I would have been angry, and I would have made the judgment that I was right and she was wrong, and it was patently obvious to anybody who viewed the situation that I was right and she was wrong. And I don't know if I would have said anything, but I might have glared at her or given some outward sign that I was in what I now know to be angry temper. I would not have dropped it. In fact, I might have processed it for a couple of hours afterwards. So I think my recovery training has really helped me.
I'll spot the angry temper,
Okay.
Judging the clerk as wrong for the order that they took the orders in.
So you see, Hector, there was a case of that clerk did something wrong, and they weren't paying attention to the orders that they should be. He was judging the clerk wrong.
I also spotted fearful temper in Fred's example when he said, what am I, invisible? I think it was a threat to the social personality. What do people think of me? Am I not even here?
Yeah, he could have gone right into lowered feelings at that point too, thinking nobody cares about me, I'm not worthy of being waited on, all that stuff, that self-pity could have started. That's kind of how we explain temper.